DM073 Gaming is brought to you by Happy Little Hug Factory. If you're interested in getting pre-orders of the next set, or if you have cards that you're looking to pick up singles or looking to sell some cards, Happy Little Hug Factory is the place to go. Check the links down in the description for their websites, as well as their buy list for Force of Will and for other card games. Thanks so much, enjoy the video.
Hey there guys, DM073 here, bringing you the feature match for the week. I am playing the Fox list that took 9th place in Minneapolis. This was created by Josh Boersma and Jason Lindsey of Team Memoria. Very awesome list, and I'm playing against my buddy David Kuris, who is playing against my old Team OGRE's Kirik Agro list that ended up taking 2nd at Minneapolis. We figured we wanted to show you these lists as quickly as possible, especially for those of you who might be preparing for the San Jose GP this upcoming weekend. Yeah, both lists are very cool. The Fox list's only loss in Minneapolis was to IU, so it went 5-1-1, drew against a Sherry, and then unfortunately took 9th place due to tiebreakers. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. It is a green, black, white Fox list, and it's very different from what you've seen in the past. My first turn is Killing Stone into Tama. Pretty slow start. It's definitely not the ideal of what that deck wants to see on its turn 1. It prefers to actually see a white stone turn 1, but it just kind of happens. Going over to Kirik, he's going to energize into that Howell's Great Pig, or Great Hero Piggy over there. Get those 2 counters, and then spend them to get aggressive here, which is what that deck wants to do. It just wants to go fast and hit your face as fast as possible. I'm just going to take the damage. I have Amit to be able to gain life back later, provided I can get into a flip. Another Killing Stone there, definitely didn't want to see that. Really want to try to see white stones as much as possible. So I'll throw out a Monkey, who can serve as a nice little blocker. And then I'm going to keep a couple stone, the other stone up to be able to deal with like Fairs, you know, have my Fairer spell, have a Lorite potentially if he tries to bring in something a little bit too crazy. Brings in that Memoria Reincarnation, pays the 300 life for it, go down to 37. Out comes Sylvia. So we're already seeing this kind of aggression. He's going to give Sylvia flying. So that's just going to be free damage that's going to come into me. 6 in the air, gotta take it. He's going to try to figure out which one of the ones he wants to make not be able to block. It really shouldn't be relevant because he can just make Piggy fly too, but he decides to make it so that Tama can't block. I'm going to go ahead and take the 6 damage in the air. That's fine. I joke about flashing in Lorite to stop the Sylvia trigger, but because he can just give everything flying, there's really no point. Swings in with Piggy, and then I block with the Monkey Trapped in Life, which then has to come back to my hand at that point. So I do lose the 100 life there. Finally see my white source, going to cast Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly and go grab the linchpin of the deck, which is the Altar, the Shift Altar. This card is very good for Fox. It essentially is like being able to do Amit and Griffin on the same turn we flip, especially if you get multiple, because when it inverts we get a free stone. And then also it really makes interesting use of all of our tiny creatures to be able to sacrifice them to do stat nags and all kinds of stuff to help clear the board for things like Amit or Manticore. The win con of the deck is most definitely just beating your opponent to death with Amit. It's a very large creature, so it only takes a couple swings. David could be using those counters to try to get cards to his hand, but obviously you see he's got 2 of those Heaven Sundering Dragon Palms and a Play Dead in his hand, so he's not super worried about it. Plays that Paye Ellie. So that's the 3rd kind of piece. Gets him some, excuse me, gets him some more strength counters. He'll be able to pump her up to being a 9/9 swiftness flyer if he wants to. Just a lot of potential damage kind of rushing at my face here if he plays it properly. It's gonna go ahead and give her swiftness with Piggy. He's debating on whether or not to give her flying as well. So the weirdness about Pig in a format that runs Lorites is, yes, you can cancel his paying 2, right? But then he can just reactivate it. So Lorite really doesn't get you much, actually, weirdly enough, in this matchup, which is one of the reasons why I think it was so effective, is that it's not really running quick cast stuff, so Ferris Spell doesn't do much, and Lorite just doesn't really stop anything the deck's trying to do. Outside of maybe gaining counters off of saccring with Kirik. He's going to swing in the air for 5, I would say that's fine, I'll take it. Or he just swings on the ground for 5, and I say that's fine, I'll take it. Decides not to pump her up, which I think is an interesting decision. I think he probably should have. That extra 4 damage would have put me down at 19. Sylvia's going to swing. My Tomahawk block. I'll make it so that Sylvia triggers doesn't happen, and then I'll still take the 6 anyway. I mainly just wanted to get a second creature out there, and at this point I'm not terribly too worried about him, you know, playing anything else this turn that's super bothersome. I do have Severing Winds in my hand at this point. Take the damage from Pig as well. I just wanted a couple of green creatures. Primarily reason for that is so that I can make several Omets all in one turn. Or all, like back to back without having to worry too much about playing too many creatures. Pay 2. Bring out the ever classic Demonic Dead. This deck doesn't run Planting Beans or anything like that, so you have to cast Demonic Dead at least once, but there's so many uses for Demonic Dead based on the matchup with the Altar that I think it's kind of worth it. Altar will invert, I'll get my Heaven's Rift stone there, so I'm up to 4 stones, so I don't have to miss out on a turn of ramp. It's essentially like paying 1 to Judgment, really. You know, if you have an Altar, and if you have multiple Altars, then you just like almost kind of pay -1 to Judgment. It's kind of weird. So I'm debating whether or not I want to use Fox Effect this turn and next turn, because I do have the 2 Killing Stones and I need to start trying to clear stuff off the board. So I go ahead and say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. We'll sack one of my tapped Killing Stones, go up to 13, take him down to 36, play in an Omet. Attempt to kill the Pig. In response, he's going to flash in a Lorite, but I was kind of prepped for that because I am able to use my Ferris Spell to cancel the Lorite. So then the Pig's going to die, and I don't have to necessarily worry about him gaining a bunch of flying and swiftness next turn, and I gain 7 life, which is great. Piggy having that extra little defense boost makes it kind of the optimal thing to kill, because I just get some life back, which is great. Before the upkeep, might as well go ahead and shuffle in that Killing Stone back into the deck. The deck doesn't actually recycle its Killing Stones very often, except for like the turn that it flips. Most of the time you're actually going to be calling for stone because of the fact that we don't have Griffin. David's kind of trying to debate what he wants to do here. He only has 3 stones, so he could Judgment if he wants to. It really wouldn't do him terribly too much. The deck primarily doesn't like to do Judgment very often. It wants to just use those counters to be able to give swiftness with Piggy. The problem is at this point I don't think he has another Piggy in his hand. So he could call stone like that, and he could get up to 5. If you get to 5 stones, then Pai Ellie can then just bring out Piggy from the deck, which is kind of what you like to do. So he's going to play his Pig, and kind of, this is, I think, based on what he's got in his hand, it's a little bit of a misplay, but also at the same time, he's got to be able to deal with that Omet, because it's going to be bearing it down on his face pretty quickly, and I'm going to close the life point gap pretty fast. So he's going to sacrifice the Pig to recover Kirik, and then do Judgment. So he's Judgmenting with, I believe, 8 counters. In response to him Judgmenting, though, I'm going to go ahead and pay 5 life, go down to 15, bring back the Demonic Dead. Reason why I want to do this is because if I want to, in response to him trying to kill something with Kirik, rather than having this really weird situation where I have to pay life multiple times, I can make Omet, you know, in response to him trying to kill something. So he's going to try to burn his counters, which would take him down to 3 counters. He can only burn 1 thing at this point. Though he might be at 10 counters. He's going to attempt to try to burn my Tama, which is kind of a smart play, right? Because it would force me to sacrifice my Amit if I want to make another Chimera this turn. I'm not super sold on having to do that, or like super concerned about having to do that because of how much value I could potentially get off of it, especially knowing that he's tapped out. But we still got to try to be careful. So in response to him trying to burn it, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice it to Soul Stealing Altar to deal -4/-4 to the Sylvia. And then he's back up to 15 counters. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice, in moving to combat, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the Demonic Dead to deal -4/-4 to Sylvia. So now, that was a little bit of a misplay on my part of things, but at the same time, because he has all of his counters still, if I sacrificed my 2 creatures to make another Amit to like deal with the Sylvia thing, he could just burn it out of the way. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I'll go ahead and keep this Amit on board until he tries to kill it and then punish, especially since he doesn't have a way to recharge those counters now that he's flipped. So at that point in time, he decides to pass the turn. Or I think maybe he's debating whether or not he wants to attack. So the weird thing about Demonic Dead and Soul Stealing Altar is essentially becomes pay 5 life, give something -4/-4, which actually can be surprisingly relevant for this deck, to be able to make sure you get those Amit swings through, especially since you're gaining life usually a lot with Amit. So it's kind of like having an instant speed targeted final battle, which is kind of interesting and actually kind of useful. So cover for stone, call for stone, get a killing stone off the top. So I'm still at 2 killing stones, which is nice. Play a monkey trapped in life, leaving up 3 stones at this point. Swinging for 15. Says that's fine, I'm going to take it. Take him down to 21. Pay another black, right, or pay another white. So I pass the turn, and then before he draws, I'm going to remove all the abilities from Kirik with Separation of Fates until end of turn, and then draw a card. So essentially, I'm trying to say, forcing him to potentially use those burn counters right now. Otherwise, he doesn't get to use them for the whole turn, which keeps me safe, which keeps me in a much better position to be able to Amit kind of in response to whatever his play does and still stay safe. So he's got double Sundering Palm, double Play Dead, and a Paye Ellie. Not a super great hand for him to have right now, because, well, Sundering Palm is fine, right, because it lets him kill stuff, but Play Dead's not super great, because it'll let me kind of keep ahead of him and pressure him better with Amit. He has to spend all of those counters from Kirik to be able to kill an Amit, and that is relatively important right at this point in this matchup. But the thing is, if I am always just patient, right, if I force him to be the aggressor against the Amit, then I win, because he will never be able to punish the response of making another Amit. It's just a little bit tricky. So he's going to Heaven Sundering Palm to put me down to 11 life. choosing not to awaken it. Pays 2. His Pi Ellie, I'm going to go ahead and Severing Winds that, get that to the grave. And at this point, now you see his hand is 2 Play Dead and a Heaven Sundering. Going to try to swing in for 5. I'm going to go ahead and thinking about whether or not I want to take that damage. So I say I'm going to go ahead and pay 5 life, bring back Demonic Dead. And because I know it's safe and I have 2 Killing Stones, sacrifice the Amit and the Demonic Dead, gain 100 life. And bring out another Amit to kill the Pi Ellie, which will then let me gain 500 life. So essentially I will be back to 1200 life. I will have gained 100 life in the exchange and also removed a creature. Overall pretty good, kind of roundabout, right? Especially since I still have a Severing Winds in my hand there to punish a Play Dead, as well as a another Killing Stone to be able to immediately do something if he tries to burn the Amit out of the way on my turn. So we have a little bit of a debate there. That's why you see that edit. We had a little bit of a question about which cards were played that turn and what could attack. And then we figured it out, moved it to my turn. Off the top, get another Killing Stone. So I'm still sitting at 2 Killing Stones, which is awesome. Swing at him for 15. He says, yep, I have to take that damage. I'm just going to accept it. Takes him down to 5. Swing at him for 1. Or think about swinging at him for 1, and then I decide to just go ahead and let the damage happen. Or just pass the turn there. I don't have another Separation. It would have been, yeah, Separation of Fates would have been awesome to play during that turn, because it pretty much would have just said the game's over. But it didn't happen that way, so he's still got the double Play Dead, which is essentially dead in his hand. So he's going to use Heaven Sundering Palm to try to kill my Monkey Trapped in Life. Now, if he had awakened this, I honestly probably would have just hard cast Severing Winds, because I have the 4-will to be able to do it. Because I have the second Severing Winds in hand for the follow-up play, right? As well as, you know, it burns 5 counters off of him. So, super important in that regard. I also considered the idea of playing the Flourishing Hope there to just prevent it from being killed for the turn, but then he could just burn counters in response to then just immediately kill it, which makes me lose that. So I'm just like, you know what, I think I'm okay with just letting it die. I take 100 damage, go down to 11, because I have to then bring it back into my hand. So the Heaven Sundering is going to go ahead and resolve. And he gets to move to recovery. So at this point, he has to do everything with Kirik, right? The cards in his hand aren't going to do him anything. He has to try to get just one corrective swing in here against me, purely relying on Kirik. Now here's where the very interesting play comes in for this deck. So I'm going to pay 5 life to bring in Demonic Dead. Sack to Fox, take me back up to 700 life. And so the play what did I do here, and it takes me a little bit to actually like execute it properly, sequencing and all that jazz, is to sacrifice in response to the Fox effect before it resolves, pay 500 life, go down to 200 life, and play the bring the demonic dead back, make an Amit that can block, kill the demonic dead, gain back up to 500 life, so sit at 500, and then go to block with the Amit, and then when he tries to burn it out of the way, I've got the Flourishing Hope. So very easily, if not sequenced properly, could cost me the game if I'm not doing it properly here. Tries to burn it for 5, I go, we got the Flourishing Hope, can't be destroyed until end of turn. Now the weird thing is, if I had tried to do Manticore, instead of doing that to like peek at his hand, right, then he could always just burn it in response to the Flourishing Hope, because he'd only have to burn 5, and then he could burn 5 again, and then in response to Flourishing, burn 5 again, and kill it. So thankfully enough, the Flourishing Hope there did save me the game. So the Kirik's gonna die. He goes, yeah, my hand's pretty dead, but I'll go ahead and I guess finish out the turn. I'll play the pig, then go to my turn. Call Stone, play 3, leaving up green-white, because those are the cards that I have instant speed stuff on. Lilia's Petal's Assistant gets to go grabbing a Tama, gets to draw a card, woo, fun, and then when I try to swing in with Amit, I can just sacrifice Tama to end the game. So that's game 1, and hopefully game 2 is not quite as close. So moving into the game 2 here, I am going to be on the draw. See, I already have one of those altars in my opener, which feels great. The ideal for this deck is to do like turn 1 altar, turn 2 altar flip. So then you can like just be at like 4 stones, or you can still be at 3 stones moving into your 3rd turn, but Fox is already flipped, so then you can just start calling stones as Fox. Pretty good. Calls that first stone, gets the Summer Breeze. Doesn't have a turn 1, so unfortunately has to pass. I see that Killing Stone off the top, which, you know, in the old days would be what you love on the draw, right? Killing Stone, first turn, with Energize still, immediately set up the turn 2 Fox flip, into a second Killing Stone with Messenger. Like, that's the ideal turn 1 Fox. But rather than doing Killing Stone, it's nice to have, I need white sources for those altars. So I'm actually going to use Messenger to stop Gusting Skies onto the top of the deck, so that next turn I can Call Stone, bring that in, play my altar, play a little bit more defensively, and then set up for a pretty big turn 3 flip. Second Summer Breeze from David. Place the pig. Debating on whether or not he wants to give it swiftness. He'd have to give swiftness and flying to get any damage. Neither one would kill each other, right? Because it's a 5/7 versus a 6/6. But he says, you know what, I'm not going to go ahead and swing. I'll just save those counters for later. Out comes that white source that I was looking for. There's the first soul returning altar, or life stealing altar. And then a Tama to draw a card. Setting up a nice little block wall here to be able to potentially deal with some of the damage if he feels like not investing into the flying. But at the same time, even if he does invest into flying, I get the damage against me, and then I have creatures to be able to make several Amits with. So one thing that he definitely could be doing is making better use of that effect from Kirik to just constantly try to draw it into a card every turn. Because the deck runs the pig that can sack to be able to play, recover, and get those stones back with Kirik, it's actually pretty smart to just start spending your counters. It's one of the reasons why the deck can get so aggressive and consistent and like get its burn damage out to finish the game, is because Kirik draws you into that burn damage or into your creature recovery. You usually like to sit at like 1 stone open to be able to play dead or burn them, you know, at the beginning of the turn if they're necessary. He swung with the Sylvia, made it so that my messenger couldn't block. And then I just said, okay, I'll block with the Tama, I don't really mind. Hits me for 5 with the pig, goes to my turn. I'll go ahead and play the second altar. So they'll both flip, and then I'll do Judgment. So here I was on the draw. Both altars are going to trigger. I'll get 2 stones in. You see I hit 2... I hit a black-white and then a killing stone, and then I can just use the 1 recovered stone to play my monkey trapped in life. And I'll go ahead and swing in for 6, hit him down to 34 because he has no blockers. So immediately, even if I sack stone on his turn, I'll be like I would be on the draw, right? I would be 1 stone behind going into my turn calling a stone. But if I don't have to sack for a Chimera, which is pretty unlikely, then even though I was on the draw, I'm 1 stone ahead. So back to that old feeling that Fox used to have. Kirik's going to call stone, hit that Memoria of Reincarnation, pays the 3 life for it. Tama's going to come out, gets to draw a card off of it. Swings in with the Sylvia, makes it so that my monkey can't block. I'll say, okay, let's go ahead and do some Chimera effects here. Take him down to 30, puts me up to 35. Monkeys, I stay the same actually, because monkey gives me 100, I have to pay 100 life every time monkey goes, it's mandatory. Try to play the Amit, he says I'll favor spell the Amit trigger, which is fine. And I'll go ahead and then say, well, then I'll just block. I'll just block the Sylvia, because he didn't give it flying. So what he could have done in response here is, when he dead the Farer, then immediately responded by trying to give the Sylvia flying, so that I couldn't block at all, and I take the 6 damage. Instead, what he decides to do is do the play dead, spends 2 counters, and at the end of the turn, Sylvia's going to come back. This is one of the things that the deck is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to be able to keep the pressure on by using play dead in response to your opponent's kill spells to just make it so that at the end of the turn, all your stuff's going to keep coming back. And if it's the end of the turn, especially if your opponent kills it during their turn, then it doesn't matter if it doesn't have swiftness, right? Because it just goes to your turn and has been there since the start of the turn, so it can then immediately swing. Pig's going to swing in for 5. I say I can't block it, so I'll just go ahead and take the damage. Decides to leave up his Lorite and his Tama as blockers. And then at the end of the turn, Sylvia gets to come in to play. So I'll draw for turn. And then before recovery, I'll go ahead and shuffle my Killing Stone that I sacrificed back in. Call stone here, get a Heaven's Rift, so I only have 1 Killing Stone available to me at this point. Demonic Dead comes out. Like to see that as early as possible. Go ahead and play the Tama. Try to draw a card off of it. It's going to respond to the Tama play by using that Heaven Sundering Dragon Palm to try to kill the Demonic Dead. I'm going to go ahead and say, nah, we're going to fair spell that. Because I want to make sure that both my creatures survive. Especially because I want to use them to kind of do some combat tricks with Soul Returning Altar. Because I need to try to kill that pig. Try to kill the pig. He blocks with Lorite. I'll sacrifice Demonic Dead to Altar to give it -4/-4. So it'll die. Combat damage goes through the pig, kills the pig. So at the kind of cost of a future 500 life, I just 2-for-1 dim. and got a lot of good stuff back. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the guy back. I'm going to go ahead and bring Demonic Dead back, because again, I want to kind of stay ahead of Kirik potentially flipping. Now what he could do here is call Stone, and then Awaken Pi Ellie to get a pig, but you see he has a pig in his hand anyway, so he could also just call Stone and play both pigs and Pi Ellie at this point, and have this kind of really massive board that I have to then try to deal with, go figure. Which is great with the pig, right, because he could burn all these counters, sack the, swing with the pig, sacrifice the pig, recover, gain even more, reset his counters back up with Kirik. It's probably the way you would want to play this. Then, you got to watch out for Severing Winds, obviously, because I'm playing against a green deck, and I've shown in the previous game that I have them. So you have to play it a little smart, but I still think you can put on a lot of pressure without having to necessarily worry too much. Like the play line could be play pig, call Stone, play Pi Ellie. If it gets Severings, then you play pig. And then you can just kind of start getting aggressive with pig, Sylvia, Tama, and pig. He's going to try to burn the Tama with his counters before recovery. I'll say give -4/-4 to Sylvia. He's got 5 more counters to burn before he goes back up to 10 or 15. Tries to burn the Demonic Dead. I'll say I'll sacrifice it to go ahead and get Sylvia off the board. Now she's just gone. It's going to go back up to 15 counters at this point. Doesn't have a way to give swiftness, so I'm feeling pretty safe. Plays that Howell pig. Debating whether he wants to do anything else with those counters before the end of the turn. I'm not going to try to bring back Demonic Dead until he's at least burned some of those counters. Because what he could do is, in response to Demonic Dead, burn all 15 to try to kill Amit, and I have to spend another 500 to bring Demonic Dead back again before he tries to before Amit would get killed, so that I can still get ahead and actually play it. And with only a 400 defense creature and a 200 defense creature on board, I don't really want to be Amiting right now if I can help it. So go to my turn, pay 2 before I call for Stone to play Messenger Lilia's Petal. Reason why I'm doing this is because it lets me top deck a Killing Stone, and then I can immediately call Stone and get my Killing Stone. Setting myself up for being able to play Amit on this turn as well as the next turn. This deck does not make Chimeras a return like it used to. It's very much more utility. You make the Chimeras you need to push through damage with the Amits, and then you finish the game off that way. Spend 1 more Darkness to play a Monkey Trapped in Life. Attempt to swing in for 15. So Monkey Trapped in Life is one of the other amazing cards with Soul Stealing Altar. Yeah, it's life returning and Soul Stealing Altar, because I can just pay 100 life and 1 will, essentially, to deal -4/-4 to anything. So he's going to try to block with Howell Pig. Looking at my potential options here, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the pig, the monkey to kill the pig, take 100 damage to have the monkey come back to my hand. My 15 damage goes through. I'll replay the monkey, and then I still don't have to worry about using a Chimera on this turn. So again, forcing him to have to, it's kind of weird how back in the old days of the Fox Mirror, you always wanted to flip Fox first, activate Fox second. This deck essentially follows the same principle. You always want to be activating Fox second, unless your opponent's like tapped out and has no way to deal with it. You always want to be responding with Fox to say, well, here's a punish, here's a punish, here's a punish. That's what Fox is good at. It's what he's always been good at. And it's no different in this point. He plays 2 Pae Ellie. I'm not going to respond to any of them. It doesn't matter enough because he's still only at 19 counters with Kirik. It's not enough to deal burn damage, and he's tapped out at this point. Neither of them gain swiftness. Not terribly worried about it. Swings in for 12, or thinks about swinging in for 12 with Kirik. Trying to decide exactly how he wants to get this damage in here, because he wants to try to deal with the monkey too. Swing in for 2 with Tama. I'll try to block with Messenger Familiar. He sacrifices the Tama to try to kill monkey. And weirdly enough, this is the play that I think pushes me over the edge for being able to deal with the problem. So I'm going to spend 1 and cast Flourishing Hope on the monkey trapped in life in response to the Tama trigger. So what is this doing, right? So this is 1, it's going to protect it from the Tama. 2, it makes it an impenetrable blocker. But 3, it sets David up for a potential option to never be able to deal with Kirik again. It's like a perfectly safe play because it's my first card for the turn, so it can't be Severinged. And if he tries to respond by burning the monkey for 5, with Kirik, then he's down to 14 counters, which means he can't deal with an Amit. So once he responds by trying to do that, I'll sacrifice my 2 guys, make another Amit, kill one of his Paes, and be able to deal with his Kirik, and then have 2 Amits staring him down on his turn, at which point he really can't do anything. So he swings with the Kirik, I block with the monkey that can't be killed. I'll pay 500 life at the end of the turn, go down to 19. Go to recover. So feeling pretty good here, especially having the Burgeoning Despair in the grave. And I think at this point I'm at 6 will. Once I call for stone, I'll be at 6 stones, so I can cast Burgeoning Despair and still have a bunch of other stuff. Just essentially clearing the way. If I had another Flourishing Hope here, literally would just be lethal, right? Because I could cast Burgeoning Despair, make him sack his 2 creatures. And then in response to him trying to kill the Amit, just make it protected. Wouldn't be able to do anything. But I decided to do something a little bit silly, just for the sake, because I really like using this card. I'm going to pay 3 and cast a Null Page, targeting the Pae Ellie. So what Null Page does is it has a trigger that when it enters, it removes something from the game, a creature. If it succeeds, that player, the owner of that, cannot play that card from their hand as long as that card's out there. Reason why I'm doing this is because if for some reason I can't kill him this turn, which I don't have the cards to be able to do it, and he does have Kirik to be able to burn the Amit, I don't want him to be able to do Awakening into Piggy Paella. I just want to lock him out as much as possible. So swinging for 6 with the Messenger, he says that's fine, I'll take it. Goes to try to block with the he thinks about trying to go to block with the Pae Ellie. Instead, he says, you know what, rather than trying to block, we're going to go ahead and try to burn the Amit out of the way. So So what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn the monkey and the Amit with Killing Stone. So that'll take him down to 8 life. I'll go stay at 19 because of the monkey having to pay to come back to my hand. Bring out the Amit, kill the Pie Egg, go up to 24 life. And then I can swing at him and take him down to 5 again with my Demonic Dead, leaving me with those 2 cards up in my side of the field. Taking him at 5 life, 3 creatures technically have a way to kill him, because I can just sack Chimera, hit him for 3 with Demonic Dead. I can hit him with Amit, I can hit him with Messenger, any of those kill. He's going to play his 2 pigs. I say that's fine, those 2 can resolve. Can't really do anything against them. But at that point, he just knows there's really nothing he can do. He only has 1 burn off of the Kirik. He doesn't have enough will to be able to do God Art. My Amit is bigger than his Kirik. He has no way to get through it. He can't give his rulers flying. So at that point, it's just over. But huge thanks to, he's going to go ahead and concede. So huge thanks to David for playing, and huge thanks to Josh for this list. Deck profiles will be up later this week. Until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.
Huge thanks to the patrons of the channel. You see their names on the screen here, some of them, and the rest are down below in the description for their support of the channel and the content. If you want to get a chance to get your name in the screen here and access to our private Discord server, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon by clicking that little P on the screen. Thanks so much. See you next time.